What's up, guys? Today we will be checking out the Galaxy S25 FE. This one is coming in at 650 bucks, and Samsung is continuing their FE lineup here. So let's go ahead and check it out. We do have some very slight improvements here, and we'll get into some comparisons, later. But let's check it out and see what is new that they're doing this year. So, of course, don't get much in the box here. We get our SIM ejection tool. We get some paperwork as usual, and then we get a Type-C to Type-C cable here. And I went ahead and got this blue kind of color here, which looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this off. Boom. The hardware goes, there are some subtle differences here. You do have a slightly lighter design here at 190 grams. I think that's the first thing I kind of noticed when you pick this phone up. I'm actually pretty surprised that they didn't go with the thicker camera lenses on here. Now, this year, it looks like the cameras have been untouched except for this selfie camera, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we also have a matte finish on here as well. So the S24 FE has a kind of glossy finish, so it's pretty nice that we get this matte finish. And we do have this kind of icy blue colors. I do like the colors this year, pretty nice, but it looks extremely similar to the S24 FE for the most part. We do have also another subtle difference with the SIM tray slot being at the bottom instead of being up top. And it's IP68 dust and water resistant as well. We do have the enhanced armor aluminum frame on here, so that's new. It's the same that we had on the S25 Plus. But yeah, that is pretty much it. It's pretty much been untouched as far as the design, just some small little subtle differences here. As far as the display goes, we do have a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. The bezels at the bottom are a little bit thinner than the S24 FE, which is nice. It doesn't look, it doesn't make the phone look as cheap anymore. But yeah, so 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED, 120 hertz HDR10 plus. We have 1900 nits peak brightness on here as well. And yeah, the display looks pretty good. We have 385 for the PPI. And I don't have an issue with the panel. Like I said, it pretty much looks exactly like the S24 FE. The most noticeable thing, honestly, is going to be the slimmer bezels. Color-wise, everything still looks pretty much the same here. And if we turn the vividness slider up, we can kind of get that older, Samsung look as far as like the colors really popping here. We do have the Android 16 out of the box with One UI 8 already on here. As you can see, we have run the Geekbench scores here, and we actually have the Exynos 2400 chipset on here, which has been pretty good performer. I believe this is also in like the S24 Plus. And you have 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM on this base model here. We also run the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme. We're getting 23 frames here. Very consistent battery life here. So seems like we get some pretty good gaming without taking a major hit to the battery life. And we can also see the frame rate 14 to 30. So I think overall this phone is going to be a perfectly great performer here. Just with my short time of using it, One UI 8 is running smooth. You don't really have too much of an issue. And let's actually see what we get on PUBG. All right, so we only have the Smooth Extreme on here, so we don't have Extreme Plus or 120 frames. So far, just using the FE, it seems pretty, a perfectly fine device for some casual gaming. It's, the flagship models are a bit more optimized for gaming. So if you are thinking about getting this and you want to do some gaming, just know that, you're not going to have any like crazy optimization and frame rates, even though you have, plenty of power on this phone. It's plenty enough fast. But that's kind of like what they do with these FE models. They don't kind of optimize them here. But if you do like the Galaxy AI stuff, you pretty much have all of the features here, which is really nice. So things like your audio eraser, photo ambient wallpaper, and the rest of the stuff is here, which is nice. Your updated Gemini is going to be here as well too, as your circle to search. So all of your AI features are here, of course, and it also gets 7 years of majorOS updates. Let's check out these speakers at max volume. The speakers actually sound pretty good. We get a good amount of bass. Overall, very nice balance, clean sound. They don't sound quite as good as like a S25 Ultra, of course, but I think most people would be happy with the speakers. You cover the bottom speaker. We still get a pretty good amount of sound coming from the top speaker. I have an optical fingerprint scanner here, which works pretty well. So I've never had an issue with the S24's fingerprint scanner. So the only difference is the ultrasonic ones, you could tap them like this and they'll go in. But these, you have to kind of like just hold it a little bit. But yeah, that's a big difference there. And we also have Samsung desktop support or wireless DeX for anybody who, uses that. The cameras have pretty much been unchanged for the most part. We do have a improved selfie camera, but that's pretty much about it. We have a 15 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, 3x optical. We can still go up to 30 times zoom, 12 megapixel ultra wide. We can shoot in 8K 30. And then we also have a 12 megapixel selfie, shoots in 4K 60. And looking at the shots here, especially with the main camera, there's almost no difference in my opinion. Again, I will do that comparison side by side for you guys, but I'm not really seeing the big difference. The S25 FE, it had great cameras. This one does too, for the most part. Great colors, great dynamic range, pretty good detail on here. The 3x is pretty nice. The ultra wide is very consistent with the main lens for the most part. And video looks, pretty good on here. For the most part, good dynamic range overall, just good quality for, this price point of being an upper mid-ranger. But yeah, I don't have any actual major issues. I wish they would have, just update the cameras just in general, but I think the cameras are fine for right now. All right, so another subtle upgrade is we have a 4900 milliamp hour battery now, which is nice. And I think the biggest upgrade here is going to be the 45 watt charging, moving from the 25 watts that we had on the S24 FE. So that's nice. We get 25 watt wireless charging, reverse wireless charging. So overall, that is pretty nice to have. So if you have an S24 FE, this is not an upgrade that I would make personally. There's just not enough here to justify. But these are, just very small, subtle upgrades. I do like the overall, slight update to the design. But yeah, be sure to let me know what you guys think.